Good afternoon. Before I call our case, let me just check in with my court reporter. Tracy, are you there? Are you ready?
I'm here and I'm ready.
Okay. Now calling proceeding number 24A-0401BP. This is a pre-hearing conference that was scheduled by decision number R24-0841-I in the matter of the application of MedRide LLC for a permit to operate as a contract carrier by motor vehicle for hire. My name is Melody Mirbaba, and I am the administrative law judge who is assigned to hear this case. Consistent with commission practice, we are webcasting and recording this proceeding. The webcast does include the video and the audio. We will continue to webcast if we take any recesses, so please keep that in mind. We also have a court reporter taking down everything that's being said. To make sure that we maintain a clear record, I'm going to ask everybody to keep their microphones muted until it is your turn to speak. Why don't we get started with entries of appearance? And I'd like to hear from MedRide LLC, and who I'll refer to as MedRide.
Thank you, Judge Mirbaba. Spencer Rubin, appearing on behalf of MedRide LLC with the law firm Fortis Law Partners, bar number 49888.
Thank you. And for Tasco Inc., doing business as Sunshine Taxi, who I'll refer to as Tasco.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Mark Valentine from the law firm of Keys and Fox, 029986, on behalf of Tasco.
Thank you both. I believe we've got all the parties present, so we can move forward. I scheduled this pre-hearing conference so I can get the parties' input on an evidentiary hearing date and a procedural schedule for this case. I'd like to start by hearing from MedRide as to whether the parties have reached any agreements as to a procedural schedule.
The parties have not conferenced here with respect to a procedural schedule. We are happy to do so on this Zoom in this hearing today. We're prepared, much like in the other matter in which we've been working as opposing counsel to Mr. Valentine. It's a CPCN matter. To schedule in the same manner in which we did the previous time. I think that was a decent way to handle.
Okay, well, my notes indicate that I need to have a hearing concluded by April 1st so that I can issue a recommended decision in time for the commission to get its final decision out before the statutory deadline in this case. So why don't we start by looking at hearing dates, and then we can work back from there.
Understood. So we would be interested, by virtue of the calendar and the timeline that you just set out, Your Honor, in having the hearing. It would seem to me sometime the middle of March is probably going to be best based on the timeline for your decision to come out. I believe you said April 10th.
No, I said we need to have the hearing by April 1st.
Oh, my apologies.
Then I will issue a written recommended decision, and then the commission has to issue a final decision. So that's really the timeline.
Understood.
Statutory deadline is pursuant to Colorado Revised Statute 40-6-109.5. So if we need to have it by April 1st, we could do it on April 1st, or we can do it in March. If we do it in March, we'll have a exhibits and witness lists will be due pretty soon, pretty quickly. Based on that, do the parties have any preferences?
Last week of March would be my preference, Your Honor. Mr. Valentine, I defer to you on that as well, to hear your opinion.
Thank you, Mr. Rubin. The last week of March is out for me, but I could certainly do it the middle of March or early in March.
Our preference would be the middle of March, based on the fact that we have, as I said, sort of a concurrent, although obviously different hearing, both before Judge Mirbaba as well as participating in an opposing party capacity for your clients, Mr. Valentine. So why don't we look at, is the week of March 17th on the table, or is that too late for you?
That works for me.
Okay, let me just check my co-counsel's schedule so that I can see what conflicts there would be, if any, that week.
While you're at it, also look at the week of March 10th. I'd rather us be over-inclusive on clearing dates at this point,
That week works for me as well, Your Honor.
because I've got the 10th, the 11th, and the 13th open.
Those those dates would not work for me because of travel that I have for a speaking engagement, but that does not mean that we couldn't do it. We would just need to make sure that we have
Okay,
else from Fortis participating.
then looking at the following week, our offices will be closed on the 17th. Or no, I'm sorry, that's not right. That's not. They will be open on the 17th. So we do have the 17th, 18th. The 19th is open. Actually, any day that week looks pretty good.
Okay. What if we did, and I'm just scrolling through that whole week to look at conflicts. It
And
looks like we could appear on 18th, 19th, 20th. And the parties have not discussed exactly how many days we think this will take. But given the fact that this is just Sunshine Cab and MedRide two-party scenario, we kind of know, at least on the MedRide side, who our witnesses in support of our application for letter of authority as well as exhibits will be. I don't foresee this hearing going more than 2 days, Mr. Valentine. Does that sound like an adequate timeline for you?
I agree with that, Your Honor.
how many witnesses are you thinking? I mean, I would have expected this to be done in a half a day.
I think
One
that
at
we
most.
I think that we probably will end up having 4 to 6 would be my guess. It just depends on how many individuals from the Intermountain Health Group hospital we decide to bring forth. We're working with that prospective customer in terms of bringing their witnesses into the hearing. And because of the timeline that needs to be set today, we've sort of put a pause on determining which of their employees or personnel will come and speak on our behalf. But if we think that we can resolve all of it within a day, then I would maybe just say Wednesday, March 19th.
And Your Honor, I would be surprised if we had more than 2 witnesses. So I suspect that a day is fine.
Can I ask, Mr. Valentine, since this was before I was at Fortis Law Partners, when we had the intervention hearing before the ALJ with you and Sunshine on a common carrier matter, how many days was scheduled for that, or how long did the hearing go at least?
I think that hearing was about 2/3 or 3/4 of a day. It did not last the full day. And I think it just depends on how many witnesses MedRide calls. I know that they did not end up calling all of the witnesses on their witness and exhibit list in the last case.
Okay.
So I think that helped.
Let's go ahead and, if it's all right with Your Honor as well as Mr. Valentine, let's go ahead and schedule for Wednesday, March 19th, and then make it, it sounds like we're amenable to a full day and we likely would not be proceeding past that full day.
Hold on just 1 second. I just want to look at some timelines here because I want to make sure we're allowing enough time for everything. Because I will say, typically when I tell people we have until a certain date to hold the hearing, most parties want to go pretty close to that date to give them enough time, especially when there's only a few months. So I just want to make sure, I'm thinking to what our deadlines would look like if we did a March 19th date.
Okay. I'm also happy. I know Mr. Valentine indicated that he was available on the 1st, so I can look into that day as well.
Why don't you look at that as well while I'm looking at these deadlines? Some of these deadlines may fall on dates that you're going to be in the other hearing, which I know you are not the only ones on both sides that are managing these cases, so you probably have other people that can help. However, I just want to be mindful of that since we're talking about both of those cases. And yeah, I think a couple of these deadlines would fall smack dab in the middle of that hearing at the end of February. So if we did the hearing on March 31st or April 1st, then I could set deadlines that hopefully won't, fall exactly at the same time you guys are both going to be in a trial.
Mhm.
Sometimes that's unavoidable. In this case, it actually is avoidable, so I'm offering it.
Thank you, Your Honor. Those 2 days, the last day of April and March and April, last day of March and April 1 work for me. If Mr. Rubin is available, that's great.
That's fine. I would obviously prefer to avoid a scheduling deadline overlap with the hearings and the common carrier matter. So it looks like co-counsel, at least one of the two, will be available on April 1st. So I'm happy to do the full day April 1st then.
Okay, and I'm certainly willing to give you 2 days. We can always vacate the second day if we think it's a good idea to have 2 days reserved, or we could just go with the one day and leave it at that. And
Mr. Valentine, would you mind if we did, just for the sake of being safe rather than being sorry on the back end, reserving the 31st and April 1st, and then if we don't need April 1st, we can dispose of it?
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, great.
okay, so March 31st and April 1st work for everybody?
That's correct.
All right, let me just. Okay, so we'll set it for March 31st and April 1st. What about the manner in which the hearing should be held? Remote, fully remote, in person, everybody appearing, or hybrid? With some appearing in person, some not.
Based on the location of our witnesses, we would prefer hybrid because this is Western Slope. So I think there are people on our team that wouldn't likely mind appearing in person, but I think we're going to be in a better position with our witnesses, especially given the sensitivities with the fact that they may be future customers, not asking them to have to drive 4 hours to come into Denver, or, inconvenience the parties by having it in a location outside of Denver. So if hybrid's okay with Mr. Valentine, that's probably the way we want to go. I know we talked about last time that we met with you, Judge Mirbaba, that, if it's hybrid and nobody shows up in person, there's not going to be, a lot of grace for that. And I understand, I don't want to waste anyone's time either. So hybrid or remote for us.
What about you, Mr. Valentine?
I think that my witnesses would probably prefer to show up in person, but I think Your Honor has indicated in the past that you don't really think it impacts the quality of the testimony or your ability to evaluate testimony. I'm happy to do it remotely if that's Your Honor's preference.
I will reiterate that. I really, to me, it doesn't make any difference. Even before we had video conference, we allowed people to testify by telephone, and even then I didn't think it made any difference. So video conference makes it easier, of course. I have no problem with remote. I do want to say that if there is a party who wants to appear in person, and that is the party's preference, what I would be inclined to do is set it as a hybrid hearing. What I did not hear from Mr. Rubin is that his client wants to appear in person. So if I set it as a hybrid, I need at least one party to appear in person. If I don't have any parties appearing in person, then we should just go with it as being a remote hearing.
And I think that's probably best, Your Honor, because my client's located in Grand Junction, and certainly the contractee is going to be in Grand Junction as well. So, if they were to appear in person, it would be in Grand Junction, and I don't know that we want to be doing that in snow season. So.
Yeah, we have in the past traveled for hearings, but I will say when we do that, it means that everybody has to show up in person because we can't accommodate any remote participation. And then when you're in March and April in Colorado, if you've lived here for any period, you realize that can be disastrous for the weather. We just never know. So Mr. Rubin, what is your thinking based on this back and forth?
Our client is likely ambivalent with respect to appearing in person. We have a couple of client parties that are located in El Paso County. We also have our main client contact party located in Highlands Ranch. So they would appear at least one of them in person if we had a hybrid, but odds are they are more interested in appearing remotely as well over Zoom. So given the fact that I don't have a specific directive that they want to attend in person, I'm fine making it fully remote as well.
All right, and we will hold it as a fully remote hearing. Let me pull up the calendar so I can figure out our deadlines based on these hearing dates. Okay, here is what I have come up with. We could have initial exhibits and exhibit lists and witnesses filed by everybody at the same time on March 3rd. And then any amended exhibit lists and witnesses and additional exhibits by March 17th, which is about 2 weeks prior to the first day of hearing. How does that look for everybody?
I am also pulling up our deadlines calendar, so give me about 30 seconds, Your Honor, just with respect to deadlines that co-counsel may have.
What about you, Mr. Valentine?
That works for me, Your Honor.
All right.
That will also work for us, Your Honor. So just to reiterate, to make sure I plugged in the right dates, it was witness and exhibit list initially due March 3rd with any amendments, supplements due on March 17th. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, that will work for us.
Okay. I will clarify though, it's not a supplement. I want to see an if there's going to be additional exhibits and witnesses, it should be an amended exhibit and witness list because it needs to be a complete exhibit and witness list. I don't want it to just say we're adding these to a prior list, because if we do it that way, everybody has to pull everything prior and combine the two documents to figure it out. I'd like it to be easier. So it needs to be an amended exhibit and witness list that replaces the prior ones. And that would be the same deadline to file and serve any additional exhibits. I do it this way so that everybody has the opportunity to look at the evidence, the other side plans to present, and essentially respond accordingly. So there's hopefully no surprises at hearing.
That's totally acceptable with me, Your Honor. As I had said the last time we met, mostly a corporate attorney. So when I say supplemental, it's probably coming from, my M&A lingo, but the way in which you've laid out our responsibilities for the 17th with respect to an amended witness and exhibit list totally works for us.
Great. Okay, I'm going to have statements of position due on April 15th. That's 2 weeks after the last day of hearing. I'll run over these dates one more time so we're all on the same page. We're setting the hearing as a fully remote hearing for March 31st and April 1st. Initial exhibits, exhibit disclosures, and witness and exhibit lists will be due by March 3rd. Any amended exhibit and witness lists and additional exhibits will be due by March 17th. Statements of positions will be due on April 15th.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, is there anything else that we need to address before we adjourn our hearing?
Not for MedRide, Your Honor.
Okay, I do want to add that my legal assistant did mention, Mr. Rubin, that there's a chance you may not be showing as the attorney to receive filings in this case, that there's somebody else from your firm listed, because I think you might have reached out about today's hearing and the Zoom information. So I would just suggest that you follow up with our e-filing staff just to make sure you are the one, your email address is going to be listed. That way, all the Zoom information will be sent to you. The information on box.com, which we're going to be using that process, will also be sent to you as well. You can have more than one person from your firm listed, but it seems like a very good idea, since you've been the one who's entered, that you be receiving this information.
Understood. Yes, there's been some sort of miscommunication internally with us as to who's responsible at our firm for getting that process done, whether it's going to be me as the attorney or our paralegal. So that is on us to figure out, our internal admin, but I am 150% aligned with you that I should be receiving the notices, including Zoom links, et cetera, documents deposited for the case, deadlines to my email. So I'm good with that approach, and I will follow up with the PUC staff.
All right, thank you both. I appreciate you both appearing, and I will issue a written decision memorializing all of this within the next week and a half.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.